So it's been a little over a month now, and I want to share with you what it's really like to turn 40. But before we get into the serious stuff, here's a doggy cutaway. So these are my two dogs, and piece of advice number one is that dogs are absolutely brilliant. Yes, they can be a handful, but just look at their faces. Aren't they worth it? Right, back to the video and turning 40. So 40 is supposed to be the beginning of a midlife crisis. There's going to be huge changes, adulthood is completely underway, but what I've found is that nothing changes overnight and pretty much everything actually stays the same. So what that means is it's actually up to you to define what turning 40 actually means. For me, the main thing was mentally it was quite a big shift. And perhaps that's an inbuilt thing that, stayed with me the whole of my life. I thought 21, you're a young adult. 30, you're an adult. 40, you pretty much need your shit together, right? 40 seemed like that peak adult phase where you should know what you're doing, have an idea of your career, your family, all those kind of things. 40 seemed like a pretty big milestone. But now I'm here, it doesn't feel like that at all. And one thing that I've found myself doing is comparing myself to other people. It's very similar to when you're scrolling along Instagram, checking out other people, comparing yourself physically, career-wise, money-wise, to all the people who are putting themselves out there. I found myself doing that for people in their 40s. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm reading blogs, I'm looking at YouTube channels, and I'm comparing myself and where I am to those people out there. And let's face it, the majority of people I'm comparing myself to are doing very well, they're very successful, maybe they've got flashy cars, they've got big lives. I think when you're comparing yourself to other people who are putting themselves out there online, it's always going to be a little bit of a difficult situation. And that's one reason I started this YouTube channel, just to be a regular, normal 40-year-old guy that you could ask questions, compare yourself to, and just, see where I am in life and see if you can pick up any pieces of advice along the way. So if you're a little bit worried about turning 40, maybe you just turned 40 yourself, or you're just interested to hear what it's like, these are my 5 thoughts on what turning 40 is really like. Number 1 is that your reflection doesn't change much, but the inner voice does. And as mentioned before, that's because of that slight mentality shift, that big 40 number. Physically, I've noticed a few more grey hairs, but other than that, there's not really that much of a change. But grasping onto that, wow, I've just turned 40, it does tweak the way that my inner voice works a little bit. And that slight shift to the mindset, I think, is only a good thing moving forward. Number 2 is stop proving, start choosing. And by this, I mean that in my 20s and in my 30s, I was so zoned in on trying to please other people, trying to prove myself to other people, whether that's in my career, in my personal life, that it took a lot of my time and effort, probably away from what I should have been doing. Whereas since I've been 40 and maybe late 30s as well, I've been focused on doing what I want to do. I chose a path and I've been going all in on that path, and I've seen some success so far, but it also brings a lot of contentness as well. For me, it's been starting my online businesses, not trying to please other people, just focusing on what I want to do. Number 3 is that your time feels more valuable. I used to feel like I had a ton of time and I'd be happy to give my time to absolutely anyone who wanted it. Whereas now, since turning 40, maybe it's that slight niggle about, being close to midlife, but my time does feel more valuable. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing either. It means that I've got to prioritize how I spend my time and try to waste my time a little bit less. That means putting up with less rubbish and focusing in on what I actually want to do. Number 4 is that you realise people don't magically grow up overnight. When I was younger, I used to look at adults, look at my parents and think, they're completely different. They don't understand what I'm going through. But as you age through life, you realise that your mind doesn't actually shift or change that much. I still think the same as I did when I was 21. Yes, I might have learned a few life lessons along the way and shifted the way I deal with certain things. Hopefully I've grown a lot since then as well. But that kind of personality, it stays the same. I feel like you build that during childhood and your teenage years. And for me, that's gone with me through my life so far. So if you're a younger person and you're conversing with an older person, they might just get what you mean. They might just be able to connect with what you're talking about. Because at the end of the day, being 40 is not really that different from being 25, 30, etc. And number 5 is that life is for learning. So if you don't have it all figured out by 40 years old, that's absolutely fine. For me, in my 40s, I'm less competitive, but I'm so much more curious. So I'm hopeful that, whilst I might not have everything figured out by 40, that the next decade is going to include a ton of personal growth, a lot of learning, a lot of development. And hey, maybe by 50 I'll have a better grasp on life. So if I had one takeout for this video, it would be stop thinking as 40 as the start of a midlife crisis. And instead, try and think of it as a midlife transition. That transition is going to involve a slight shifting of mentality and hopefully be the beginning of a brand new chapter in life. So that's what I've experienced from my 40s so far. I want to know what you've experienced too. Did you notice any physical, mental differences after turning 40? Drop a comment down below and let us all know. And hey, if you want to see more videos of my dogs, more advice and tips from someone who's just turned 40 themselves, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next video.